Muskegon, Norway community as an Eagle Scout. Through his vision, dedication, and leadership, Andrew coordinated a project to earn his Eagle Scout status that involved construction of 5 trail benches on Muskegon, Norway district property that leads to the Ingle Conservation Area. The project was an extensive effort that included advice from Muskegon, Norway buildings and ground staff, manual labor, and assistance from 17 scouts, family, and community members. The Muskegon, Norway School Board commends Andrew for his contribution to students during their outdoor instructional experiences to provide rest areas for the community members while enjoying the nature trail. Thank you and best wishes in your future endeavors, and it's signed by the board officers. So, congratulations. Now you get to be part of the picture. Congratulations.
Thank you. Now we have the pleasure of recognizing a basketball team at Lake Danoon who came away with the conference championship. So we have certificates for all the boys. If you want to come on up here, and we will.
I'll read the first one and then just call the rest of you by name.
Keep coming over, sure.
We don't play too much. All right, so it's a certificate of appreciation. The Muskegon, Norway School Board congratulates Lake Danoon Middle School 7th grade boys basketball team through team and individual dedication, skillful preparation, and commitment to excellence. The team won the January 2019 Junior Southeast Conference Championship. This achievement has brought honor to Muskegon, Norway schools and the community. With deep appreciation, the Muskegon, Norway School Board hereby commends Owen Anderson for his contribution to the Lake Danoon Middle School 7th grade boys basketball team winning the Junior Southeast Conference Championship. The Muskegon, Norway School Board wishes Owen success in his future education and career endeavors, and it's signed by the board officers and today's date. So Owen, first, congratulations. Thank you. Alex Anschutz. Congratulations. Great. Henry Westfall. Congratulations. Brody Viney. Sorry. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Kyle Holliday. Congratulations. Josh Hansen. Congratulations. Ashton Krause. Congratulations. Andrew Grunberg. Congratulations. Dominic Aliyev. Thank you. Brady Rector. Carter Seawright. Sam Luther. Congratulations. Aiden Krause. Congratulations. Oliver Korsfeld. Congratulations.
Would any of you like to share any story about your journey?
I heard you guys were the odds-on favorite to win, right?
Yeah. Were you? The high seed? And you made it all the way through. Congratulations.
So the last 7th grade team, I think that won this from Lake Danoon, went on to the state championship with their seniors in high school. So keep working hard.
Wow. Awesome. Why don't you guys come and form 2 lines and we'll take a photo.
Parents?
Want to get a picture?
You can step up, you don't need to take information. All right.
All right.
Congratulations, guys. See you back here next year for the eighth
Are they twins? Are they the youngest? They had COVID for at least 6 months. Probably. Now I'm done with the board.
Okay, the next item on the superintendent's report is a summary of course requests, and per the request from the board, also an opportunity to hear a little bit more about personal finance.
Yep, so you had asked just for some update regarding course requests on a few classes, and so we're going to provide that to you. Peter Mattson is here from the high school to talk a little bit more about personal finance. We have 116 student requests for that class this year. And just to note that this is the first year, that last year we had adjusted the title from financial independence to personal finance. Peter, you want to come on up?
Good evening. My name is Pete Mattson, obviously. I'm here to discuss personal finance, formerly known as financial independence, which is, of course, my colleague Chris Burrish and I teach in Business, Marketing, Information Technology Department at Mosquito High School. This course has undergone a transformation over the past year, led by Mr. Burrish, who unfortunately had a conflict, so he couldn't attend this evening. So you're stuck with me. As BMIT teachers, we teach applied subjects. And the great thing about that is we can teach students how to businesses track cash flows, or the importance of being customer focused, how to troubleshoot and repair technology. And by technology, I mostly mean Chromebooks. And you know what the rights of business owners and consumers are, as examples. We're fortunate that our curriculum directly transfers to the real world. No matter what the line of work or career field students pursue, business, marketing, and technology concepts will be interwoven into it. This premise is turned up to 11 in personal finance courses, and that's why we're so passionate about it. In personal finance, student engagement is apparent as they explore financial literacy topics that directly apply to their academic and career planning. These topics, in fact, reach beyond that, as they are life skills that everyone needs. Financial literacy, in our view, is as critical as reading and writing. Students think critically about the relationship between careers, interest and lifestyle preferences, and financial goals. Money management, including budgeting and goal setting, credit and debt management, savings, planning, and investing, risk tolerance, and management, including insurance, and how their personal financial decisions might impact their family and their community. As some examples in terms of how they think critically about these relationships, students explore these topics by debating who belongs to the best bank by comparing interest rates, saving options, credit options, fees, and more. Role-playing as debt counselors to give real-world advice to someone who is in an endless cycle of debt. They play investment games to show how the benefit of long-term, low-fee investing opposed to trying to time and beat the market. And they role-play sort of a game of life, so to speak, prioritizing and buying different types of insurance on a budget, and then living through a tumultuous year where a lot of random, unexpected events occur. Students are enthusiastic about these topics because they understand the connection they have to their lives and their future plans. They also relate to these topics because within their current life experiences, they've been exposed to them. Things like banking, working, making spending choices, understanding their paycheck, being a part of a family that lives on budget. The list goes on. Students are even known to discuss personal finance, the course, with their parents. In short, Mr. Barish and I believe that every student at Muskego High School would benefit from exploring subjects taught in personal finance. So thank you for your time. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to respond.
Come on, Eric, I know you have something to say.
Well, I just want to, I want to thank you for taking interest in our kids and teaching them about personal finance. I know we talked about this probably 4 or 5 years ago when Dean Strom was here, and he was probably the biggest proponent on the school board to make this happen. And I know it's gone through some transition, being taught in one area and now in a different area, but I appreciate you and your partner and how you guys have really pulled this together. I personally heard from a junior at the high school that I know well, and for better or for worse, all our areas are extremely interesting and the kids are learning a lot. But I didn't know if I, when he told me this, if I should be like, oh, that's great, or I hope he's learning in other areas too, but he said that he's probably learned more in your class than any other class he's taken at the high school. So we appreciate that. And I think this was Dean's vision 4 or 5 years ago that he drew us in, and we all agreed that it was important to bring this type of class to the high school. And I hope Dean's either watching or we'll get him the video for tonight's night's meeting. Oh, that's right, he wasn't Daytona. We appreciate what you've done, and we appreciate Dean really standing firm on wanting this to happen, because I think it's been a great positive impact on our curriculum at the high school.
Okay, we do too, as teachers, very much. So.
Good job. Thank you.
Peter.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
Okay. The next course that I'd like to give an update on is the leadership course, which we ran first semester very successfully, and we're continuing second semester. For next year, we actually see an increase in enrollment from 131 requests to 191 requests. So Mr. Irvine is here if you wanted to speak to anything regarding your experiences. And in the administrative content, I did include some words from one of our parents from a recent email that Mr. Irvine received in January. I'm not going to go into detail on it, and there's no names on it, but you can get a sense of one family's perspectives from that email.
So it's not a form letter you just hand out?
Insert your daughter's name.
And I'm open to questions, really. I don't know what more I can add than I think the numbers are speaking volumes. I will tell you it's very rare that a class begins in an area, and I do get unsolicited messages from parents and students alike talking about the profound impact this course has had on them, and requesting and making inferences like this should be a required course for all of our students, and how do we continue to take these concepts and extend them beyond this class. So open to any questions. I appreciate, again, the support and the trust to say, hey, let's try something. This was an area of passion for me, and I'm just genuinely grateful that we have the opportunity to get it started.
I know that when we first brought this on, there's some specific questions about, we appreciated the leadership, and I think Lisa Warwick too kind of brought up, well, what's the difference over time between what's being taught in this class and what she and the rest of us would expect is continually being taught or integrated into all of the other classes. And I'm wondering if you could just touch based on that, the difference from your perspective, having had this class for, this is now, it's been 1 or 2, one year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so how can you answer that now?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'll utilize the Warrior's Way as our guiding principles. That as a system, we try to promote and teach those in lots of different ways through teachable moments that come up in classes. Yet in many classes, there's content-specific information that oftentimes our teachers feel like we're pushing through. We need to get to this next activity and this next activity. And concepts like character dares might show up as a thought in a teachable moment, Well, this class has the freedom and flexibility to make that the priority. So I'll go back to the 40 days of character challenges. There was lots of things that spun out of conversations with our students with a simple question of how are you going to make a difference in our world today? What things are you willing to do as a group of students sitting in our classroom today that you can go out and make our world and our building a better place? So it was sometimes what felt like little things, like random acts of kindness, random notes that are spread throughout our building. Sometimes it was the doors being opened in the morning by groups of students. There were so many little things that I think it's difficult to put my finger on it, but there's a place and a space right now whose entire focus is around helping our students make that explicit connection between the skills and the talents that I have. How can I capitalize on those, and how do I actually go and make a difference in this world? So again, in our AP CAP military history class, they do have conversations around leadership and how do I go and have an influence and an impact over people. But the majority of their work is also somewhat content specific, and this is a much more open concept where there's a greater level of flexibility and freedom to integrate different activities to allow student voice and choice to say, hey, here's an idea that we came up with. We think we can have an impact and make a difference like this. And then they're empowered with the time to go out and actually lead the change that they've talked about.
So on top of that, just to help, I guess, to discover some more of what Lisa was trying to do, I talked to 12 students who took that class. And to hear words like reliability, accountability, responsibility, the whole servant leadership model, how to be a self-leader, and very, very good. I was impressed, and I passed that on to her. So I think she would be very pleased, I think, also after a year of when the class was first brought to us, to know that there is a way to differentiate and there's value being clear value here. So thank you.
Appreciate that. And you're always welcome as guests as well if you want to ever stop in and check it out. It is a class that I will tell you I walk by and I describe them as energy nests. You walk past the classroom and you can feel the energy out of the room, the excitement of the things they're talking about. And again, not that all classes aren't exciting, but sometimes there's a different level of what you hear and feel from students as you walk past those spaces.
I did stop by, but they didn't have the warrior book. Remember that whole count? Okay.
So is this offered to all 4 grade levels right now?
It currently is, yes.
I was curious with the numbers. So you're saying 191. If you divide that by 25, it's like almost 8 classes.
Mhm.
So we have one teacher teaching this right now,
Correct.
right? So are you looking at, because that's, unless this is for the whole year and we divide it by 2?
Correct, it's a
Is it
semester
like-
long.
All right,
Yep.
so then it'd be like 4 each time.
Yep.
Because it's going to get to a point, like if everyone signs up for it, that you're going to have to look at
It
other
could.
options, which is not a bad thing.
Yep.
It's still a pilot right now, right?
Correct.
How long? What's our plan on that? Was it just through
2
this
years,
year?
I think, right?
Pilot or what was it?
You had asked for 2 years, I believe.
Okay.
So it's got to come back.
First of all, did you get your question answered? You started with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I shared what Lisa had in the beginning when this was brought forward. Is like, what, do we need another class for this? Is this something that could be integrated into the whole thing? I mean, our schedules are still challenged now. You know, we're trying to get so much content into these kids, and there's only so much today. And you know, that's part of the reasons why we were pushing back on this a little bit when it first came in to make it a pilot. And everything I hear sounds like stuff we want our kids to have. I just want to be careful that it's not, that we can accomplish everything we're looking for without pulling out a full class out of it. You know, that's that whole balance act.
So, you done? I don't want to stop on you. So I agree with you, Rick, and I was thinking about that from the standpoint of, you know, what are they doing different in this class? And when I read this parent's email, it seems to me like having a dedicated class like this allows for the exercises and the call to action that you may not get in other classes who are focusing on curriculum-based things. So I completely appreciate that. But I also think that the 50% increase in the number, or nearly 50% increase in the number requested, tells me that the kids, like, I almost get the sense like they want to be this way, but they don't have the tools to get there. And the sheer interest of 191 kids wanting to take this tells me that they've heard through the grapevine that Mr. Kunick is giving them the tools to get to where they want to go, whether it be character issues, whether it be making right decisions, maybe, the leadership piece. I completely appreciate where you're coming from. I'm not adding one more thing, but there's a couple of things in this email and those numbers that tell me that it's worth it.
That's cool. That gave me goosebumps. The character dare concept is really a powerful premise around this. I will argue we have 1,650 great kids there, and yet sometimes great kids make poor decisions. They're not bad kids, but how do we continue to build those skills to help arm them with a compelling why, so when they are left to their own accord, surrounded by their peers, do they have the character, do they have the leadership capacity to make the right decision when no one else is watching? And again, reinforcing those skills, having those conversations, creating safe character dares when it's not because the teacher's here watching you, but will you show up to school early today, open the door for a peer? Do you know what servant leadership looks like, sounds like, feels like? And is that as powerful as the peer pressure to maybe do something not as positive? It's been powerful.
I'd be curious to see if there's a way of assessing the kids that went through this class as a pre and post type thing blindly, meaning you had a group of teachers that were looking at a cohort, let's say one, an English class, and just went through and, okay, these 5 questions, how do they, that would relate to leadership. How do they skill on that? How do they score on that? And then without identifying which ones have gone through this class or not. Almost like a prayer, and maybe a different class like the year before, and just see if there's any change. Not that we could do that, it'd just be interesting to see if there's
But
any impact.
I think the one thing that he kind of puts forward, because Josh has taken this class, is that it's not just the leader, the CEO of the hospital, or it's the everyday leadership type stuff that they're doing that makes a difference in the world. So it's not, I don't know if putting a person up in front of the class going, oh, he was in a leadership class and he's going to talk eloquently and.
Well, that's not what I was referring to.
But I mean, they're just overall a good,
And that's more what I was referring. I wasn't referring to putting that kid up there or anything else. It was more, or that student up there. It was more of, has there been a noticeable difference in that student's behavior and the way they carry themselves? Or maybe I can't quantify it, but I think there's a way of. If there was, I don't know if there is a way of.
I know a good way, attendance, because my kid was not going to class in the morning, and because it was the first class of the day, he was showing up and going to school. So, I mean, there could be an easy way to monitor whether or not.
Yeah, totally. And we call them the lollipop leadership moments, where sometimes it's not those big grandiose impact. It's, have you inspired someone to make a different decision? Because sometimes it's that smallest act of kindness that has the most profound, prolific impact in your student culture. And it's where it is. It's hard to measure, but they're all good, great questions. And yet, I will say that the student voice is speaking in a powerful way. The fact that I had teenagers sending me emails stating that this class was the most powerful class I've had in my entire high school career, I'm like, that doesn't happen for very many classes. So it's been pretty cool to see.
I'm also curious on the growth of it. Is the growth because the students talking about it amongst themselves, or is it, which I would suspect, the personal finance growth, or their interest in it comes from parents pushing it, looking at the syllabus and saying you're taking it. So
I did that.
I'm sure. I don't think
Right
that's
up my alley. I truly believe a class like this is the route to every single person's future. It really does. Doesn't matter what you do beyond. I wish this class was there when I was in high school, because it took me until I was probably in my 40s to be able to speak in front of people, be confident enough and not be shy. And now I step up for everything. But my kids got there faster. My kid became a leader when he left for college, and I believe that's this class wasn't around when he was there, but I believe what he learned through our high school got him to that point, and that's what led him. But yes, when my sophomore was registering, I said, I want you to take this class. I don't remember if he did, but he's a more outgoing leader kid anyway. But the skills there's skills they can apply in every facet of their life, any career they choose, anything. So I think it's invaluable. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
So I have a question. So essentially, and I'm just naming the 3 that I remember off the top of my head. We have the personal finance, the leadership, and AVID. it seems like we're kind of taking a good look at life skills, essentially, with a lot of these. Is there anything we're missing on life skills that we should be teaching our students beyond what we have already?
Well, I can speak through the career and technical education review that's happening this year. We're looking at employability skills and how we can embed that further into the curriculum.
And are we looking at, like, I think Rick had mentioned it earlier, you know, is there a way we can embed it within our current curriculum rather than creating a whole nother class?
Yeah.
So, interesting to hear that. One thing that might track, you know, for a leadership type program is how just the students do on their grades. If they're taking more of a focus on being a better leader, a better citizen, I would suspect that their grades, even a little bit, might go up. So, might be. I don't know how easy that would be to track, but just a thought.
A lot of leaders that get C's.
Yeah, but a lot of them.
It is. It's interesting. And even looking at the demographic breakdown of our student population, one area of concern a parent asked me is, well, this is only for our athletes. And when you walk into those classes, it is not only our athletes. It is such an awesome group of each niche, clique, demographic part of our population. There are many at-risk students who are in there because someone has encouraged them, like, look, you need to find your why. You need to find that leader within you to help you stay more disciplined to making the right decisions for you in your future so you can be the best version of you can be. So. But there could be the post, like what was their GPA upon entering, say, the beginning of this year, and then what was their cumulative GPA at the end of that. But it's hard with small sample sizes, and yeah, all stuff we can look at.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks,
Ted.
If you recall, part of the literacy review last year concluded that the high school English department had a desire to combine advanced comp, which was one of the most popular courses offered to seniors, and it had the infamous college essay as part of it, along with Brit-Lit and World-Lit, and to take those 3 courses and create one year-long English course. So at the bottom of the chart, you'll see what our numbers were for advanced comp, Brit-Lit, and World-Lit. And I'm happy to report that next year we have 258 students who requested English 12. If you do the math, we're up a little bit in terms of the number of kids who are electing to take the year-long class as opposed to the semester-long courses, which was almost the equivalency, but in semester-long courses historically. Any other questions?
Did we discuss or talk about or see if there's a possibility of a college entrance essay course that we can run during the summer?
Yes, and we are running it, and I believe we have 30 students signed up for it.
Okay.
So those would be students who would not be in this course. I suppose it's our AP English students, for example, who are electing to take an AP class and really desire to still have that college writing experience.
Excited about that. All right. The next item in the superintendent's report is our contributions to the profession, and just a welcome back to the ESC with our first back at home meeting. So we'll be here until October. So that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on to other reports, President's report. I am still missing one evaluation. So everyone get them in, because if I look at the IPs, I can generally figure out who doesn't have it in, and I'm going to out you soon. Any other board member reports? Hearing none, moving to resolution action item 7A, Lake to Noon roofing.
Motion to approve Cudahy Roofing as vendor for Lake to Noon Middle School roofing repairs at a cost of $21,800.
So we had talked to, sorry.
I'll move.
Second.
All right, now discussion.
guys always look at me like, oh.
What are you waiting for?
Lake Danoon has 3 sections of roof that are still due to be replaced. It's an approximately a 15-year roof for the life cycle, and we're going on over 18 years of the roof. So in working with an engineer, they've helped us draw up a plan to still extend the life of the 3 remaining sections for the next 5 to 7 years. I will come back, not this upcoming summer, but the one after for one of those sections. So we're not going to invest a lot of money in these repairs here. But the other 2 are in good enough shape that we can essentially repair the entire border of the roof where it's starting to show age and come loose. Some of the pictures will articulate the rubber's just starting to pull. So we're glad that we can approach this situation like this. Otherwise, we'd be dumping probably $1.5 million over the next 2 years into this roof. So hopefully this buys us some time and we can continue to phase it. We put it out to bid and we had 5 bidders, and Cudahy Roofing won the bid. Sometimes the disparity can be in whose books are full this time of year, so it's not uncommon for people to have their books already lined up through the summer. So we've worked with Cudahy on several projects over the last few years here. All the other bids are attached as well. Also, Dean Strom said I have to take care of roofs.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving on to 7B, revised 2019-20 budget calendar.
Attached, please find the revised budget calendar for 2019. You'll notice the preliminary budget approval will occur in June. Do we take a motion on that, or is that? I think we do, right? Okay.
So a motion would be in order.
So moved.
Can I get a second? All right, discussion. Julie?
So in the attachment, it just shows the changes that we'll be making. So we'll be bringing forward budget assumptions at the next meeting in March, as well as preliminary staffing plans, and also be reviewing various scenarios that we will work through over the next couple months to determine the budget for the upcoming 1920 year. If you go in the middle of the page and toward June, you'll see that I left in September right under June, which doesn't make a lot of sense, except that I'm highlighting that the board will adopt the preliminary 1920 budget. Where it used to be in September, it will now be that board meeting in June. And then any adjustments to the budget will not be made again until after the annual meeting. So just that you are aware that the preliminary budget will be adopted before July. And then everything else pretty much remains the same.
Questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving on to 7C, gifts, grants, and bequests.
Motion to accept with thanks gifts as noted below. Muskego High School, from Friends of Muskego High School Music Makers, $3,578.62 for Muskego High School choirs, WCDA expenses. From Muskego Stars Volleyball Club, $5,000 for Salentine Gym sound system. From Muskego Boys Booster Club, $500 for Classic 8 banners. From Muskego High School Baseball Boosters, $1,000 for indoor batting cage and netting. From Muskego High School Boys Booster Club, $150 for Muskego High School Boys Basketball to offset November 2018 scrimmages.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm assuming when we're saying boys, Muskego Boys Booster Club, that's boys basketball booster club?
I believe so.
The third one is for the banners.
Yeah.
It's in the attachment.
It just says Muskego Boys Booster Club, yeah.
Yeah. So, just want to make sure we recognize it right.
We'll get that clarified before we send out the thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to discussion items. 8A 2019 budget.
Did we actually have a vote on
Oh,
that?
I'm sorry, yeah, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Not that it wasn't foreseen, but
No, you are correct. 8A 2019-20 budget placeholder, unless somebody has some specific questions for Julie right now. Hearing none, moving on to 8B, Lakeview Air Conditioning. Now let's hear it. Now you can talk.
So as we've been talking about throughout this year, the capital construction project that we had selected to try to do this year was the heating air conditioning at Lakeview. Currently, they have one air conditioning unit that is on top of the library. The rest of the building is not air conditioned. We put it out to bid after a full design, so we have the design in hand should we ever need it in the future. It was a fully designed package. The budget was, we were hoping for $750,000 to be where it came back at. Unfortunately, we didn't have a whole lot of bidders on the project, although we invited many. We had two. The winning price came back at $1.1 million approximately. One thing that's changed since last time we met is I've been working with Focus on Energy to determine potential credits for Focus on Energy. I wouldn't say that it's going to chew up a whole bunch, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it's 20 to 30,000 potentially. As far as the budget goes, the only budgeted funds that the B&G budget would be able to contribute would be $750,000, and that's a new stretch for us. We've been continually growing that fund by transferring instead of contracting out using those funds. There are other options, and maybe Julie, you want to speak to the other options that may close that gap. The first one I'd just say would be to defer the project and not do it this year. There are other finance options.
The other options, we talked a little bit about the work session as well. But we could use fund balance, obviously, to support that. With the referendum dollars that the board allocated out of fund balance, we have not used all of those dollars, so that could be an opportunity. And then also the bond interest earning proceeds from the referendum, we would be able to use for this project as well. Again, those were upward of almost $600,000, so we could use a portion of that to support the project. So we do have those options available outside of the operational budget to support the project.
And just as a reminder, as we were going through the master planning 2.0 process, Lakeview Air Conditioning was our #1 ranked item as need, and so then there are a lot of other projects that are on that master planning 2.0, but this one was ranked as the first project that we'd like to accomplish.
When was this put out to bid?
I think the bids came back right before the last meeting, and we had kept it open for 3 weeks, so it's like 2 months ago.
So, I mean, it came out over 25% higher than what we were expecting. Is that a timing thing, or, I mean, I'm just wondering, would it make sense to rebid it or not?
We could. I think the risk is the integrity and the folks that already put in bids. So when we were pretty disappointed that we only got...
$1 higher than we expected.
we could give it a whirl. But yeah, we had some mandatory things as part of the bid package, such as like showing up to the pre-bid meeting so you can learn more about the project. And so when folks don't show to that, it kind of stinks to reopen it to them because they didn't originally take place. But I get it, and we can rebid as well.
So how did we come to the 750 initially? Was that the engineer's belief?
Yeah,
I think that alone opens it up for a rebid, and people should understand that we have an engineer that's telling us we should be in about that range, 750 to 850, I would say would be your range, and we're at 1.1 million, therefore. But when would be a more opportune time to open up the bid? Because I think you're probably going to have two companies bid again if you do it right now. Because it's probably based a lot on how much work they have going this summer.
That could be part of it. The other, first of all, answer that question. Did you have a question?
When would be the most opportune time?
Yeah, we did it in the way that it would have opened up at the opportune time. It wasn't too quick. It was right in the middle of the year. We're giving them time to purchase the materials and project plan for the upcoming summer, so it wasn't ill-timed. I would just say that there's a huge construction boom right now, and this is the market in general. And unfortunately, we ran into this with our concession stand project where it was supposed to be one thing, it turned out to be another. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. And I'm not happy to see this either. I would have loved
to come in the budget. So we got an engineering report that came up with a number. They break that down. I mean, they don't just throw a number. So how does that compare to where the bid came in? Is it everything roughly 25% higher, 30% higher? Or is there, like, is it metal because of the tariffs now versus when the report was done? Or, I mean, is there one thing that we could point to that, or is it labor, or?
He was just as perplexed too, and he just uses a square footage basis, some projects that he's worked on in the past to establish the budget, so he looked at all his
So
other.
that can get dangerous doing that.
So,
What's our time frame on this if we wanted, obviously we'd want everything done by the time the school year started in September. What would be the time frame that we'd have to approve it to get it rolling? Could we wait until April, May?
we were targeting the last board meeting, but not knowing that this was going to be over budget. So I would say by the next board meeting, we'd want to make a decision either way, even if it's a no, because of the ordering of materials and everything like that. So when we timelined it out, we were going to be cutting the contractor loose after the last board meeting, had everything worked out the way we planned it.
So the bid was really just a square footage thing,
That was how he arrived at his numbers.
which, with a building like Lakeview retrofitting something in, you can get dangerous on that.
Sure.
Would you be able to get an idea from other districts what they're spending on projects like that? Or is that
Well, you're
digging too
comparing
deep?
apples, I mean, it's a construction project, everything's
Is there a way
different.
to, can we spend,
I mean,
He did the square footage thing.
I know, but it didn't sound like we were comparing apples to apples, like you said. Something, is there a way of getting something a little more, I don't know, let's just say Cudahy, they doing a similar project? Have they done a similar project where, I believe part of it is we're doing almost all the ductwork, correct? We're doing a lot of the ductwork, and we're putting in new controls.
So it involves a physical chiller, which would be on grade. So there has to be some modifications there. It involves chilled water lines going to all of the univents in the rooms, and the univents themselves are from 1957, so those have to be changed out and updated. And then the controls themselves require data runs and different things, because currently we're working off of compressed air, so we would get rid of the old compressor. We'd also tear off all of the old units that are on the roof right now and dispose of those. So it's a very intricate project, and there's different units within the building that have to be retrofitted, like the gym unit has to be completely updated. So it's a comprehensive thing, and at the end of the day, because we have a new boiler plant, we would also have a brand new air conditioning plant too. So it'd get us to where we needed to be, and it's not hodgepodged. It's not just putting in a bunch of sleeve air conditioners that are noisy and can't really filter out the air. So it's the right solution. Yeah.
I'm just curious, how are you soliciting the bids? Is it just on a website, or is it emails out, or is it, how are you soliciting them?
The engineer that works with all the different firms goes through the list, and we do share projects that have gone wrong. So he'll say, I've worked with these groups. You might not want to invite them to bid right now. They might be too busy. Or so he gave us a long list, and we picked all the ones that were suggested. There's also a science to not inviting too many players. So one of the bidders here actually emailed me and said, how many people are bidding on this project? So if you look at the scope, I believe it's almost 1,000 pages. So given 2 weeks and an expediting of that process and project, that's a lot of work for a firm to put in to get the numbers right, which that's their job. But if you invite 100 people to the table, some people might just say, I'm not even in. The chances of me getting in are too slim. I am disappointed that we had two. We had a third that was interested, that we really tried twisting their arm at the last minute. I even ended up getting the union involved in that one, but they didn't bid.
So overall, how many did you put out there for?
7.
7.
is there a way to, so if you fund it, can we fund it over 2 years? So say we don't do it this coming school year, we wait a year, and it comes out of the budget this year and out of the BG budget next year.
Do we have capital projects already? Do you have any roofing projects assigned? Lakeview's, or Lake Danoon's roofing project is already
Yeah.
assigned to utilize capital dollars.
Yeah, that would be for not this summer, but the next summer. And I did talk about, like, with Southport, could we finance this and work creatively that way? So maybe that's something we can explore. But I'm assuming with all of the chilled water piping, the chiller itself, and the different infrastructure, that it wouldn't be an easy to slice and dice to say, all right, you do this next year, this year. So
I guess that's what I'm trying to determine here. So if this is a number one for our master planning 2.0, we got to find the funding, right? So is there money in the budget next year to fund this, and we just delay this a year? That's the question.
I mean, in addition to like taking what we have, the
Right.
750. So if we roll the 750 over, it becomes fund balance.
Okay.
And then we'd be using 750,000 of fund balance in addition to the balance, right, which would be a negative impact to us
Okay.
the next year. So we'd almost want to do the flip-flop. We'd want to use less fund balance now, knowing that we have the 750 in the budget.
What if
I
we
get
put-
what you're saying.
What if we put
Okay.
750 into Fund
46.
46?
46, which we could start using in what, 2020?
2020, 2021, that school year, yep,
But we can't, how much can we use that year?
as much as we want.
Oh, okay, I thought you we
Yep.
had put in previous, because you're,
We're
So
putting,
this-
it's whatever you
So
put.
we're 1920, so that'd be a year away.
How much is in there now? Did you know by chance on
100.
Fund 46?
130 something with interest, plus we have now budgeted 35,000 a year in operations for turf replacement.
So could we, are you thinking this too? You put more into it the following year, so by the time we can spend it, we've got the cash in there?
so before we get into that whole thing, we have the arbitrage from the
Bond
referendum.
proceeds, correct.
What else would we use that for?
So you can either use it for additional projects, or you can use it to pay down the debt. So to do defeasance, to pay down principal on the debt payments that are owed for the bond proceeds.
For the specific proceeds,
It can be used for any proceeds, it's
Okay.
just for debt in general.
any debt?
And what was the amount that we had left over from the referendum?
We have about 900,000, but we still have bills coming in, so that's not a final, but that's where we're at right now. But that's assuming all of our bills to CG Schmidt are coming due, so we factored that in, and any bigger payments, we've factored in already.
We were talking about debt cliffs in the last,
Yep.
if I'm saying it correctly, I apologize if I'm not, at our last meeting.
Yep.
Was that taking the interest earned as part of it? Is that?
So
part
we
of your
have
calculation?
money in Fund 39, which is our referendum fund, in that fund balance account. So we have 1.3 million that has to be used to pay down debt. Whether we choose to do it now or later, that's up to the board. But that's the only thing it can be used for. So we could use $1 million of those funds for the defeasance to allow for that debt cliff without touching the bond proceeds. Or we could use the bond proceeds. We have options. But we do have funds available to move forward with the defeasance if the board chooses not to use the bond proceeds for debt paydown.
So if we were using, essentially what you're saying is if we use this interest for this, for this project, we're still okay with,
Correct.
with that debt
Yep.
cliff financing? Does that make sense?
We can do it all.
Spreading, not pushing it off, doesn't seem to make any sense.
And we have to use the bond proceeds before July. I mean, we have to allocate them
Yeah.
before July, so.
So what number, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So we've got the bond proceeds in here, which you provided. That 356 fund balance, that's just part of the 2 million that we had committed, right? That's what's left of that?
So of the 2 million you've committed, there's 900,000 remaining.
So that's just the 356 US fund.
That's
Okay,
the-
got
what's
it.
due.
So let's get back to so then the bond interest earnings are 356, and we've got 1.2 million left that we have not spent of the referendum.
Nope, we have 900,000 that we have not
900,000.
spent of the fund balance that was allocated for the referendum,
Okay,
plus almost 600,000 of interest earnings.
and then okay, and then so
Plus 1 point,
And then 1.3.
3 of Fund 39.
Nine, fund balance, correct.
But that 900,000 that we have left from, that we allocated from fund balance, that can just roll back into fund balance. It can be spent any way we want.
Yeah, it can be spent-
It's really just,
Yep,
we
it can be
shouldn't even look
spent
at that
in-
as leftover money. That's just,
And
Yeah,
using that
I agree.
is like fund, it's just like any other fund balance, we will have an impact on the left.
So it's possible with bills being paid, so I agree with you on that. I don't see that, the fund balance part, as anything but just a balance that we chose not to spend, yeah. Now, so it's possible even with bills coming in, but it's possible then that we could have close to 2 million to pay off or to defease our debt with Fund 36 and the
And the interest, right?
right.
Yeah.
So you're looking at close to 2 million that you could actually pay down the debt.
Correct.
And what you were showing us the other day was at what level?
That was if we used $1 million to pay down.
And how much in interest savings were we have?
It was just under $500,000.
So we would save $1 million in interest savings if we took all $2 million and put it in?
We'd have to run the numbers just to verify, but that in theory, yep.
Over what
That's a
time
big
period?
deal.
That's a huge deal.
Over 20 years.
20 years.
That's a big deal.
So I generally have, just to get it out there, I don't have an issue getting AC in Lake Danoon. It's just when the best, or Lakeview, just when the best time to do it is. And I think we're 75% there. We either, just my thoughts here, we either wait, rebid in a year, we try to come up with the funds another way, but I'm really looking at this, that up to $2 million, defeasing the debt.
What would be some possibilities then with the $750,000 that we currently have allocated, so that it doesn't run, go into fund
Yeah,
balance?
I was going to, so,
Fund 46.
well, but you don't get hit when you take it out of 46 and you put it all in?
No, because what we're doing is we're expensing it now, so if it's in our budget now, it's just like we're spending our budget. So the expense and the aid impact occurs.
But the balance, anything over 750 that we're spending out of it would.
No, because every year that we've put money in, we've expensed it in the current year. So there's
But the
no,
750 in there plus what we have in there now is enough to cover the project?
no, we would still need 200,000.
We may have to.
So that 200,000 would still be taking the negative tertiary hit? Because we're going to have to pull it out of fund balance.
Yes.
Likely.
Not unless we
Unless we wait.
We wait.
work
Well,
it
if
into
we wait
the,
and you
yeah.
assume that you're going to get it cheaper, but I'm not sure we
no,
are.
No,
but
you-
also you can always work it into the budget as an operating cost to go into Fund 46.
Right, like 100,000 over the next 2 years,
He
and
just
that's
said
your,
that he's got the capital budget for his 5-year plans. I mean, you're going to prioritize that part, but it
Well,
might
they'll
be-
have to
But it might be
prioritize.
Well, you get to put to us, but
Oh.
then you're pulling roofs or something else out.
I guess we'd have to see that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the plan is. I mean, you've got 2 years
Well,
yet.
or we add $200,000 to his budget over the next 2 years that come out of different areas of operations.
I just want to be careful that you're not, if you're taking out of the budget to make up that gap, that's fine. If you're not, if you end up pulling it out of some other fund that we're getting hit on negative tertiary aid on it, you're doing a 25% increase of cost on it.
But it sounds like
That difference.
we wouldn't be.
Which we wouldn't have right now with the interest. And I'm not against, if you, my thought is do it now, but if you're not going to, just make sure you don't use fund balance to bridge that gap, because you're going to take a hit.
Well,
on it.
I don't think anybody would want to do it that way.
I don't know.
And we can look at the projections of what that looks like the fund balance hit, because, I mean,
Why would there be a fund balance hit?
if we use
Well,
fund
if we
balance
did.
on the aid, yeah. Because, and it's hard right now because we don't know what the governor's budget is, but if the governor gives us more revenue limit and more aid, and we're not going to have an issue with taxes, then there's that opportunity to use fund balance and kind of work the levy to kind of absorb that hit, so. But we don't know what that, it's hard to say right now without knowing what that
But I
looks
think
like.
in theory, you don't want to take that hit. I understand what
Right,
you're
we don't-
saying.
Yeah, we don't want to if we don't have
That's
to,
my
but.
big part is that you just don't want, you're not saving it by doing it.
You don't want to give up a quarter to spend $1 when you don't have to.
I wanted to look at one more number. It'll take me just 2 minutes, because we are paying off our Fund 38 debt in
There's some defeasance if you
1920.
you lose your savings in there right there.
So Fund 38, that's money under the revenue cap. So I have to look at the exact numbers, but we'll pay off the 1920, that was Fund 38, that's the $1 million you can borrow that we had borrowed a long time ago. We have about 82,000 in fund balance, and our debt payment is about 110,000. So there's only 40,000 that we'll need from our general budget, which is under the revenue limit. So the difference at 80,000 is already planned for, that we could support that. Instead of using it in Fund 38, it just rolls into Fund 10. It's all under the revenue cap. So that's an opportunity as well. So that could give us 80,000 more in the general budget.
Julie, can you speak to timing? Just so I've got my, because we want to do this over a summer, right? So are we essentially, if we were to delay, are we essentially delaying for 2 years?
One.
Well, but would you be able to start that project prior to July 1st, 2020?
Is it when it's paid out?
If you're putting it in the 2021
No.
budget?
So
You'd
it's
have to,
2 years.
you'd have to wait, let me think. This is 19,
Summer of 21.
20.
So I don't think that project would be,
It's-
what was their
gonna
timeline on it?
confirm
Was it a 2-month project, or was
I
it?
think they're going to take the whole summer, so I've literally put it up to when staff will be coming back.
Well, when are those funds first available to us?
That's what we're talking about.
That's what
July
I'm
1st.
going to find out, because we established the fund in December. And so 5 years out would be 2020. So I don't know if that means I have to wait till December or if it's just the start of the school year. So I have to confirm that with DPI.
But either way, it's not going to help.
It's still going to have to happen in the 21 summer,
Summer, yep.
So it's 2
regardless.
years out now. Yeah, it's a 2-year delay.
So we kind of have to decide by next meeting whether we want to push it off for 2 years?
Or kind of
One,
probably
two, or-
probably decide tonight what we want to do and then take action next meeting.
I guess the only other thing is, do we want to try to rebid it now? The only problem with that is if you rebid it now and nothing changes, and then you decide to put it off 2 years, that almost, to me, as the contractor, puts a worse taste in my mouth than it just being bid out once and putting it off for 2 years. But then you might miss out on, I can't really see that it's going to go from 1.1 million to 750,000
Well, it's not going to.
in 2 months.
No, it's not going to go down that far, but I mean, I really think part of it is timing, but I saw this through all the referendum projects. When you bid something, you just do a blanket square footage cost on something, and it's something that's intricate, like retrofitting a school for air conditioning that didn't have it in. Those square footages never work out.
I think one other downfall would be that we now release the bids to the public, so Joe Schmo could come back with a bid at 100,000, $1,100,000.
Yeah, no one's going to come in at 750 after seeing these numbers after.
So we pay our debt under the operating. So is it as simple as this, where if we paid, just hypothetically, or if we paid the 2 million, defeased our debt 2 million, we save $1 million in interest over 20 years. So is it, okay, it's 100,000 a year. I mean, is that essentially 100,000 less a year that we end up paying?
So Fund 39 is separate from our operational budget.
Okay.
So that would not have any impact.
But this would be, but what do we use to pay the debt, the referendum debt?
So that's our tax levy for Fund 39. So that's all a separate pool.
So we wouldn't, so I guess where do we see the impact of that, of the 1 million in interest savings? Where do we see it?
So you would see it when we pay down our debt sooner,
So
like
it
20
would,
years from now.
It's a tax thing. Really.
so
It's
it would
not-
be paid off in 18 years?
Right.
Okay, so we wouldn't see an extra, or we wouldn't see a reduction in our debt payment?
No, and in fact, our levy would go down slightly from
Okay.
where it was anticipated, but that's spread out over 20 years
Okay.
because it's.
Yeah, so our payment doesn't change, our cash outflows don't change.
Correct.
It's just when it ends.
20 years
When
from
it
now,
ends,
someone's
correct.
gonna-
Would
It's
be-
like if you prepay your
okay.
mortgage, right? Your payment
Exactly.
doesn't change. It's paid off in 13 years instead of
Exactly.
15.
That's
Yep.
exactly it.
Okay, because I was thinking if we're getting 100,000 a year and we
It's
wait
50,000
2 years,
but
that's
no.
another, yeah.
Well, and the other thing is
Million or a
it
million?
isn't, I mean, that 500,000 we're talking, he needs
Oh, yeah, I
how much more?
357.
356, so it's not even,
Figured it out.
it's 356.
Okay.
It's
so not even-
356.90,
Okay,
the difference.
Yeah.
got it.
So,
I
Okay.
mean, my thought is you use the interest to take care of this now, it's a need now. 20 years from now, is that really gonna make a difference?
I just don't know if it's a need. It's been that way, so
Well, then why'd we put it in?
We just
any-
don't agree on that.
Why'd we put it in any of the schools then?
why didn't we put it in here then? Well, when we did the last referendum, because the committee didn't feel it
Well,
was,
because out of all the things for referendum, that was, that
Exactly.
didn't make it, but now we've done all that, we're looking at doing other things, so now it's top of the list. It was bottom, well, we took care of all the ones above it. Eventually you get
I
to
do
the.
feel like there
that's what
should be
lists are
some
for.
equity
Eventually you get to it.
across, yeah, across.
From an
the-
environmental standpoint.
Yes, yeah. Especially if you have
environment.
kids with special needs that have to have, because didn't you mention that at that school, there's that situation too? I don't know, I just feel like we can, 356 night, I just don't know if this is enough to make it wait 2 years.
I understand, and I don't doubt it. It's just that it's a slippery slope, because there's not much you can't argue or debate when you're talking about kids. You can make anything,
Well, true.
and go broke real quick.
This is the one project I
So-
think on our list that really does impact student learning, because you're talking the first 2 weeks of school and the last two in general that are exceedingly hot and makes it a lot tougher for student learning. So that's 20 days roughly, that out of the 180-day school year, roughly 180 days. That makes it tougher. So this is the one project on that list that does impact student learning. Most of the rest of what we had were athletics and extracurriculars and things like that, so.
And we're not talking about not defeasing. We're talking about not doubling our defeasance that we were talking about. We can still go 3/4. We still can go 50% more than we were talking about. We were talking about doing 1 million. We can probably still do 1.5 and still do this.
I'm just trying to wrap my arms around this, because
So you're really looking at an average of $25,000 per year.
I mean, I feel I'm leaning towards
Not even.
putting the money from the referendum towards this, because,
Well, there is no money from the referendum.
no, we have about
No,
$900,000.
all the money from the referendum's gone. That is just fund balance that we promised, that we took outside of the referendum funds, and
Well, I
we were going to
thought
use
that was
that.
part of
So in general, our referendum project was estimated to cost $45 million.
Right.
The board only wanted to borrow 43 to keep the tax levy as minimal as possible. So the extra 2, if we needed it, was going to be supported through fund balance, and the board gave pre-approval for that. So we've used 1.1 million of that, so 900,000. So if we don't use that, that stays in our fund balance.
Got it.
It doesn't have to go to the house.
So from a
Specific, but
from a responsibility financial standpoint, it would be to use the interest over the fund balance because it won't have an impact on our,
Plus the interest is limited on what you can spend it on.
yes, right. In comparison to fund balance, it has a broader, you can use it in a broader sense, but because Lakeview Air Conditioning falls under a utilized sense, we can
Yeah, I
use
was
that
under the
interest.
impression that the referendum, we were under balanced on that, but we weren't.
We are under budget. We are under budget because we budgeted $45 million. It's just where that last $2 million is coming from, and it's fund balance. So it's not like we took that out and put it into a special fund. There was no option for that.
Yeah.
So,
Jeremiah, cooling days are about 20.
It could be a lot more than that. We call all the way through October, and then April, May, June, the shoulder months, because we could be running air conditioning in the morning and heating in the afternoon, or vice versa, but depending on when days start. So high school and the other schools are running air conditioning all the time. It's just, once you hit the winter, then air conditioning's off. So.
I was just working off memory of what I remember the exceedingly hot days, the ones that really impacted the student learning where they're worried more about how to stay cool than they are actually trying to learn. There are going to be days, there's still days that are hotter, but they're not as bad. I remember that from when my daughters went to test. Typically, it was the first two and last two.
And then how do you, so, okay, let's
Yep.
take that. So if there is a way to do this in one, I mean, my kids all went through test too. I'm not saying that an AC room isn't better than a non-AC room, right? But my kids did it, and it's fine. So it's really, for me, it's a matter of, am I spending money that we didn't commit to spend? And why can't we wait until we have it, rather than just drop fund balance? Because the same thing could happen the following year. Now there's something else.
But we're not drawing the fund balance in this.
Well,
It's not.
it would be from a stream where that would take away, so the interest, right? On it. It was always, I thought, our plan to pay down the debt.
The board never made a decision.
And, right, but that was always at least what I thought our plan was.
We never even talked
No,
about that.
this is
And-
kind of the first time we're
I
talking.
pretty much thought that, but that's fine. And then anything left over from the referendum, not specifically talked about, was going to be returned or paid down debt. So now we've got, and we've done this before, I mean, it's not the environment, but the fields, I mean, we wait until we have the funds.
Which I normally wouldn't
And we
disagree
wait.
with.
Yeah, and so I guess the question, I'm trying to wrestle with that, because when I get it, it's much more comfortable to have AC for those 2 months out of the year. But you know what? We've done it in this community for how long? And anyone that's gone through test corners knows.
But what does 2 years get us?
So, well, that's where I guess I'm trying to grapple with.
You know,
What does that do?
I think we have to consider
Yeah.
the cost of inflation of the project
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
I think that what we would be spending, even if we used fund balance, the negative tertiary impact on aid would be much less than the inflation rate that we would see in 2 years. That's just
trying
my
to grapple
opinion,
with
that's
that
not, yeah.
because
And who knows if Foxconn actually does show up and turns into something, which I don't know if it's going to or not, that's going to be in the heat of it, you know, excuse the pun. You know, it just seems we have the interest money that has to be spent on a certain type of thing.
By July, right?
It has to be, I mean, we
It has
have
to be
to,
allocated or
Yeah.
something, yeah. So you have that, we have the 750 already in the budget for it. So we don't have to play a shell game of what to do with that 750.
So if we take away that 356 from the bond, that leaves us what?
About just under 250, quarter of a million.
And then that plus what we have left over would,
So we have,
about 1.5 roughly, I mean, guessing. So this is, so AC at Lakeview, is it worth what? So it's 1.5 million on the debt versus 2, or 50,000 a year
Versus 3750.
versus 30. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to grapple with. I don't like to lose cash.
We could do both things and do them both well.
I just don't like to lose the cash and have to explain it. Why are we spending when we could be saving?
Well, because we're going to be spending on this eventually anyway. This is going to get done. I mean, you even would admit that you're going to put air conditioning in Lakeview at some point.
We will.
Before we do some of those
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
projects that are on the
Yeah,
list.
no, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
But we have a means to do it with the fund that we set up. We're just not waiting. We're just not willing to wait, or some of us aren't.
But we could use that fund in 46 for other projects that are coming up. We can't use the interest on those
No,
other
but you can use
projects.
that fund, and we can put more into that fund and defease the debt, and you just wait. I mean, that's an option. So you get it all. You defease the debt, and you get to pay it.
And then how much
So-
more is the project going to cost?
Well,
Yeah.
you have the interest.
But you never thought it was going to be this.
But it'll eat up
It
part
may
of
not
what
be
you're
more.
seeing.
It may not be more, it may be less, I mean, you don't know, right?
So
Because
the
we might just be getting high bids right now because of where we're at today.
We very well may, but I still think it's more likely that the engineering report was just off because he used square footage.
Well, I think what you do need to understand is
if you don't see it.
if you're going to use the 356 that we could have used to diffuse
Fees.
interest, you're basically spending $534,000 to use 356 up front.
Right, because of the 175.
Yep.
Yep. So the question is, will this project cost more than 175,000 2 years than it does today,
Correct.
2 years from now?
From what was bid, right.
So assuming that bid is accurate, is it going to cost 10% more,
5% a year.
5% a year, 2 years from now?
With the building, it may, I don't know. It may not.
So you were saying your daughters are at Test Corners and they survived. But let's just say that we did give them air conditioning and they excelled in all of their academics, even more so than what we did.
His kids did.
So, there isn't,
Bad example.
I don't know how
But
to
there
qualify
isn't-
that though, because there's no, I mean, that's anecdotal and.
but you don't know though, I mean, our goal here is to get kids to be the smartest that they could possibly be.
No, I
And
got
if we
that.
can create an environment where they're learning better because of their environment that they're in, then isn't that our goal?
Well, there is a cost in that we, I
It
mean,
is.
we could do a lot more in education by throwing more money at certain things, and we do put our limit on. I mean, you have to look at the economics of it, you know.
I understand that, but I don't want you to dismiss the fact that it does affect their learning.
It does, but.
And it
You have to
does-
be careful with that
Yeah.
too, because years ago, not that many years ago, our highest achieving elementary school was our oldest building in the district.
But both of them.
Without.
But you don't know
Well,
if
it's 'cause
that
my
was
daughters went there,
teachers
that's-
or if that
just
was
screwed it up,
something
yeah.
else though.
That's good.
Or the, you know, there's a lot of factors in play there
That's what
too.
I'm saying.
But if you went around and
We would
looked at the
close it.
schools that actually were,
We close all our high performance
so you're not gonna find it.
I don't know.
So,
I don't know, you'd have to
no, but I'm just
look.
telling you what the report card said. So if you're trying to look for quantitative, right, Test Corners, Muskego, Wells, schools that did not have air conditioning.
Yeah, but then why did Country
Right, in the
Meadows,
schools.
Country Meadows had higher scores than Test Corners
Right, we're
and
talking
Muskego
Eastern.
Wells and stuff, so it's,
I guess one
Yeah.
other thing, just to throw out here is, I think you have to bear in mind also, what's the public perception that we're using interest money from the referendum to purchase more product, not pay down debt?
Terry, where are you at on this?
I would like to see us go ahead with that air conditioning and use the interest. I think when we talk about a referendum, when we bring it to the people, one of the very first things that we talk about is, if we defer this project, it's going to cost more in the future. You know, when we did this referendum, how long ago for these schools, the difference between what we were asking for them compared to what we needed to get many, many years later was significantly different. Of course, the project did change a little bit, but that's what we preach. So I can't imagine that this bid is going to change that much to make it worth putting off 2 more years. I think we put it off for a long time. It's been at the top for a while, I think, so that's right.
Bring it back next time for action. We have 2 weeks. You guys, anyone has questions, get on the Jeremiah or Julie. In the meantime, we can have more discussion and we take action on this. But
Can you tell
as
us,
it sits today, we're at 4-3. That may change one way or another, so.
can you tell us what the interest would be if we waited
About it.
on that loan that we're taking, it for, you know, what, I don't know which, the name of it, the 2020 one that we're putting aside?
146.
Thank you. Fund 46, what that would be with, what we create as a, like if we were taking that money out of there, what we would have to owe for interest rates and stuff like that, or would it be nothing?
No, so that fund is just money that we've set aside within the budget. We've expensed it and we put it in. So in the past, schools could never save money for big projects. We were condemned for it, but we could never do it because it had an impact on our future tax rates. So we had to be really careful. So what DPI did is they created this Fund 46 that said, the money that you have, if it's in budget, you're not spending it, instead of putting it in fund balance, you can put it in this fund specifically for capital projects only. and let the money accumulate, and when you want to spend it, even if it's $2 million, it'll have no impact on your tax rate the next year. So there would be no, like, additional interest or anything
Right.
like that. It would just be the money that we've established in there and the usage of it, and we would just take on the project. So we're kind of handling that interest, or the impact on the tax rate now.
Does DPI define what capital projects are?
Vaguely. I mean, if you try to put anything, it's like Fund 41, it has to be a capital project, so if you try putting in like maintenance, upkeep and things like that, it doesn't.
Vehicles?
No, I don't believe vehicles are. We can double check, but I don't believe so.
Okay, I'm just curious, instead of automatically rolling stuff in the, if we know we're gonna need a new van or something 2 years down the line, instead of just rolling it in the fund balance, start throwing it into there.
Yeah, I'll find out all vehicles.
It'd be helpful if I brought the engineer to the next meeting. I know sometimes I could go either way. He can come if you guys have additional questions for him. Let me know if you want.
You know, personally, I think I'd just be happy to get a little more detail on how he came up with it. You know, if
There's
he
a
just-
200-page paper.
Yeah, if he just didn't even consider any ductwork or the controls, or, I'm just curious if you,
His explanation was he takes all the projects that he does by square footage and then the bids that came in, the winning bid, to establish a square footage price.
so he probably didn't take into account, this is from everything was from the 50s, the heater and all that.
I'm sure he took it into account. I don't want to underscore
Yeah.
his expertise. I think he was just as disappointed when the bids came back high too.
So if you're going to bring it back for action, I would request that it comes back with, there's two questions, or two action items. One is, if in fact it passes that we are going to move forward. The second one would be a question as to whether we rebid or not. Because I think if you're going to move forward, we should rebid it, and we should invite the two people that bid on it already, and then reach out to other districts outside of maybe Waukesha County or Milwaukee County, a little farther reach as to who they've used for heating and cooling, and invite 3 or 4 that we haven't invited to the first one.
I would also like to know then, or just as part of the information brought, that if the board does decide to go forward, what the impact is financially by doing what we're doing as far as the debt and what that cost is.
So like
So
a
it's
total
clear.
cost of the
Right,
project
so it's
based on
clear
all
that
that.
by going forward, this is the impact. And
So the
that's
impact's
clear.
not truly 1.1, it's 1.2 or whatever.
Right, yeah, 'cause I know your numbers are kind of, it's hard because the bills are still probably coming in, but.
But you're just saying that the impact of being negative tertiary aid.
Right, and
having
then,
a cost of
right, and then also by wherever we're getting the additional 356,900 from, and not paying down the debt by 2 million, what that actually does financially, and what the cost to the district is.
Well, it would really only be the interest on the 350 though. Because that's
Right,
all we're talking about.
Because that is the only thing.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
How would we vote next time to bring it forward and then vote to
Well-
rebid? I mean, we would not move.
First of all, before we do that, where does everyone add on the second, on the 2-question part? We're not just gonna bring back 2 questions based on, as much as I respect Eric on his request, the board's got to request how it wants to come back, so. Does the board want 2 questions coming back, is the question.
I don't have an issue rebidding. I'm not, though, you'd probably be more, I mean, you'd be the expert at.
I would
Really,
professionally.
what your idea,
Yeah, I would
is on
recommend
that.
if we rebid that we put this to rest for a bit and then
Okay.
fall, go back out. But it'd be a poor strategy on my part to do it again right now.
And I'm not trying to
You missed
micro
the
your
numbers.
strategy. If the strategy you took, you're telling me is the best, and I don't want to set that, so I'd probably defer to what you say, Jeremiah, on the, on spending. Right now, I'd be a no.
Bob, or Tracy or Bob, where are you guys on one or two questions coming forward?
Go ahead.
I don't see a point to it, but
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how they were supposed to get, you wanted a second, or another bid and stuff, and I just, with these bids already out,
well, you'd have to reopen the whole bidding process.
yeah. I don't know how that would,
Invite people that haven't, weren't invited the first time.
right.
I don't see advantage to going with two questions, those two questions. So I'd like to just keep it one.
Might
We
be
can,
several $1,000s.
that'll come up in discussion, we can make an amendment or make a different decision, so.
Or tens of thousands.
I
Kind
think
of
it'd be best
crazy,
to just
because if this
focus.
bid came in at, let's just say 850, we wouldn't even be having this discussion at all, right?
Correct.
Which is kind of crazy, because it's like,
I mean,
such a
these two
small
bids
amount.
are nearly identical.
Yeah.
Well, if it came in at 850, we'd still have it. It would be, where do you find the extra 100,000 in my opinion?
Right, but would you be hemming and hawing about 100 more
Yeah,
than
if it came in at 750, we
300?
wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, that's probably the thing.
That is true.
And I'm just, and a lot of my angst is just my own opinions based on when we did this during the referendum. So,
Me too.
so I know that you weren't here, so
No, I
I
wasn't.
don't judge you on that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, for me, that's where I'm grappling with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I completely respect what we want to do here. I just honestly think it can wait if we can't find the funds. So I'm willing to do it, just not right now, unless I can grapple with this funding.
So if we wait and rebid in the fall, that interest money is gone, that's off the table.
Correct.
So
Yes.
that adds a whole nother,
So then what we're talking about, if we rebid in the fall, is then we're talking about the only place we're pulling it from is
It's
fund
fund
balance.
Yep.
So then what the impact to,
Not true.
or you're
No,
deferring it for 2 years.
We have the maintenance fund in 2 years from now. But
Right.
in fall, no, there is no other option besides fund balance, correct?
Right. Just to move forward.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the following year,
Why
there
would
would be that
it, why
other.
would there only be fund?
because we can't use the
You can't touch the
750.
maintenance thing for 2 years.
What?
We can't touch the maintenance fund for 2 years, so we can roll.
Well, you could bid it in fall, it doesn't mean I don't know why you would, if you're not gonna do it now, I don't know why you would bid it in fall.
Well,
Because
fall-
you're not gonna do it
fall
till,
for whatever, fall, next winter, whatever, if next school
you're
year.
not
is
gonna do it
not-
till 2021 anyway, so.
Well, not if, no, you would.
Julie's gonna
you would
find
be
that out,
20.
yeah.
But
the
then you'd have
summer
to-
of 20.
I would still
Yeah.
say no to that, because you'd have to use fund balance.
Exactly.
Right, that's what
Right,
they're
That's what we're
saying.
talking
Yeah.
about.
That would be the following year.
So it's a 2-year delay if it's not.
Right,
yeah.
if we don't decide now, it's 2 years.
And then if it is, and you can bring that all up, but I don't want to, I think we talked about this.
I just also want to bring up, then we have a master plan, right, that we've been talking about and kind of strategizing around and talking about a survey. I also don't want to go to the public and ask them for feedback, or we have to really think about that if we're not getting the number one thing taken care of for 2 years, because then we're talking about all these other projects that kind of fall beneath that and how we're going to be spending funds, whether it's our capital budget or our district budget or whatever it is, on these other items. But that won't start for another 2 years.
So it's number one based on,
It's the direct impact on students, from the standpoint of the number of students, 300 students every single day, rather than, lights on a baseball field or.
so the determination as to its number one is internal.
It is, right. And right now, our survey is only for high school projects.
Because our external survey was several years ago, when
Yes.
Lake Norway said, not interested.
Well, they were not interested in the whole
whole-
project completely, and maybe.
Which included air conditioning.
Sure, but our most recent survey, which is in here, would indicate that there was actually more support for Lakeview's projects, including the air conditioning, than they had support for the full referendum of $55 million. So there was more support, 65% or whatever it was, for Lakeview as a whole in comparison to our whole project for the referendum. But it was the board's decision that it was more important to take care of the elementary schools than it was to do anything else. So we had to make some decisions about what would lower that, and Lakeview's air conditioning came off at that point.
And I guess I don't want to keep rehashing that part. We've talked about just bringing it back next time. The question right now is, do we want 1 or 2 questions coming back?
I don't think it's going to make a difference, in my opinion.
So 1, 2.
Well, his one question was
He
to
wants
rebid.
he wants 2 questions brought forward. He doesn't get the we
All
speak
I'm
as a
asking
board.
is, do you want to rebid it if in
Yeah.
fact we're going to move forward?
And I don't know if that's going to make a difference.
If we're going to rebid it, we're starting the whole cycle over again. Either, next time, we're either going to approve it or we're not. If we're not, then we can go out for bid
You
and
can
fall
rebid it
again.
at this point and still do it in the summer.
I don't think Jeremiah said we would kind of need to get it approved by next meeting,
I feel like
in order for him to get the parts, and is there a
I would
way?
agree with that. We're running tight
Yeah.
to summer right now, ordering parts, and
Yeah.
some of the repairs would actually start during the school year, so contractors could get in before school even ends.
So I think the second question's redundant, basically. Either if we don't approve it, we're pushing it off at least a year, maybe 2.
Bob, where are you in it?
I'm okay with the one question. I mean, Jeremiah's expertise in this is that if we're up against the clock, I think we should either move forward with it or we don't.
We don't. Okay. 4. We got 1 question. All right, bring it back next time. We can have more discussion and actually take action. Any questions? Like I said, make sure your staff gets it so they can be prepared for the meeting, please. Moving on to 8C, new textbook purchases.
Okay, so each February, the Curriculum Planning Committee reviews textbook requests. And last year, the Social Studies Department went through the PDSA cycle. Through that cycle, they ended up piloting textbooks at 9th and 10th grade. And the memo that is attached there outlines their requests for books. Numbers are fairly large. They're looking for classroom sets only. They do not want the online edition, as the textbooks are really just supplements to other resources that they use. One of the reasons why the quantity is so low is because when we piloted through Pearson last year, they actually gave us over 100 textbooks as part of the pilot for free. We were just coming off of a very large literacy purchase with them, with My Perspectives to the middle school. And so we were able to keep those, and we turned around and we're looking to order, but not at the same rate or quantity that they probably were expecting. So you can see the quantity that they're looking for in the dollar amount.
You know, they could mail them individually cheaper than charge this for shipping.
I was wondering how long before you make that.
It just kills me. Just charge us more for the dumb book instead of
the whole deal.
instead of this ridiculous shipping charge.
How about Amazon has free shipping?
It's all in budget.
It's all in budget, yeah.
That's very clear.
I think the closest one is Minnesota.
It just kills me though.
Yes.
You know, it's just the shell
We
game.
could do a road trip and just bring them back in the van.
You're charging us $8
Rick already offered that, and they-
$8 a book to ship these. I mean, come on.
What is the difference between cost for a textbook versus an ebook?
Well, because they won't
So it's
come to us
usually
10%.
more cost effective if you're going to do a textbook and an ebook bundle. So, for example, the world history for the textbook is $83. If we were to bundle the ebook on that, it would be like $95, but it would be a 6-year subscription.
I guess I never thought of that with the ebooks. I was thinking the same thing. Why don't we just
Yeah.
get the
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the kids usually want everything.
And they charge us $1,300 for a download fee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's coming.
yeah.
So is this, what is here to discuss, I guess?
This is just the annual.
Opportunity for me to complain about the shipping.
It is, yeah. If it makes you feel better, I did get them to throw in a few teacher copies for free and a disc with other resources for free, but.
Fix their pricing model. Just
Yeah.
charge us normally. Charge me more for the book and less for shipping.
The rep does what she can to include free items when she can. She can't control the shipping, so.
How long do these textbooks usually last for?
Well, each curricular area goes to review every 7 years.
7 years.
So we would be looking at about 7 years.
So having the ebook for 6 years is probably not off target then.
And when that's the case, we have to, at the end of 6 years, just do like a 1-year bridge,
Okay.
just to kind of get us through.
So this will come back for action next meeting. Yep.
This will just go to consent, won't it, next time? Or is it come back for it?
It comes back in action,
All right.
Yeah.
unless you wanted consent.
Rick will just pull it and complain about the shipping.
Yeah, that'd be fine. So we got to give Rick some airtime here too.
All right, moving on to item 8D, personnel information. Why is that under
That
discussion?
usually is under information,
Yeah.
yeah, that's moved up one for whatever reason.
Not a lot of discussion there. Information follow-up? Any requests? Hearing none, can I have a vote to move into closed session?
So
Second.
So wait, before we do that, can you read the notice of closed session?
yes. Vote for closed session, Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub-E for the purpose of considering investing of public funds or other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining matters require a closed session, specifically contracting with an outside provider, Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub C for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of specific persons over which the board has jurisdiction, specifically Dave's mid-year evaluation. And the motion is by me, the second by Bob.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are in closed session does anyone need a break? Yes. 2 minutes. We'll come back at 9:55. Yeah, that's.
My watch tells me it's time.